Hi guys, I'm John. This is Tank Talk Time. In today's video we're going to talk about why we should always cycle our tanks before we add any new fish at all. So let's look into it. So many of you as beginners have probably gone into a fish shop at one time thinking, I'm going to buy a tank and some fish today. When you get there, they'll let you have the tank, but they won't let you have the fish because it needs to be cycled. Now what that means is there's a bacterial cycle that a fish tank goes through when it first starts up. All the good bacteria will cycle through your filtration, acting as sort of a biological filtration, and it needs to go through a cycle before you can add fish to it, otherwise it's toxic. It can be toxic to fish and you just wipe out anything that you've bought. So they tell you to always cycle your tank to avoid all the fish deaths, because as a beginner you buy a tank and some fish, you get them home, 2 weeks, everything's dead. What are you going to do with that tank? You're going to get rid of it, you're going to give up. So staff at the fish shops and anyone really who's ever kept fish will always tell you to cycle your tank first before adding anything. Now there are ways around it. There is a chemical way, which I don't really recommend. I've never gone with chemicals. I don't use chemicals at all. I always use fresh treatments, fresh bacteria, things like that. It's handy if you've got friends that have fish tanks too, like I do. That way they can give their sponges a squeeze into your fish tank water, which will introduce a lot of good bacteria into your fish tank and clean their sponges at the same time, so it's a win-win for both. So if you've got the benefits of having friends, that's one other way of doing it. So you've got chemical way, you've got adding filtration and media, things that get from other fish tank into the new one, as the bacteria would have already gone through its cycle. You'll still need to let it settle for a little while, but it won't take as long as if you were to do it from scratch. And then there's obviously the natural way, just letting it sit for about 4 weeks. It normally takes about 4 weeks. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to explain to you the cycle. I'm going to explain the cycle to you now. Okay, so this is a diagram of the fish tank cycle. So as you can see, about 2 week stage, you start to build up a load of ammonia. Ammonia is incredibly toxic to fish, especially in large amounts. So you definitely want to not add anything around the 2 week stage. As you can see, then it goes to nitrites from there, to nitrates, and that normally takes about another 2 weeks. So you've got 2 weeks for the ammonia to build up, then you've got the nitrites, and then another week then for the nitrates. So yeah, so as I said, ammonia, completely toxic. Nitrite is still toxic, so still avoid anything for 3 weeks if you're doing it the natural way. Nitrate is harmless unless it's in mass quantities. You'll know when there's nitrates building up in your tank because you'll start to see algae blooms, little bits of algae building up on your rock or even on your glass, things like a little brown algae building up. So that's when you know that you've got the nitrates in the tank cycling through. So the best way to do it is to buy a test kit and obviously test for ammonia first, and then you've got your nitrites, and then your nitrates will test for all three, just to make sure that your tank is ready for fish. But also, once you have gone through your cycle, you think, yay, I can add some fish, let's go to the shop, I want 30 of these. It doesn't work like that. You have to add them gradually and slowly. If you can imagine, I'm going to say a toilet. Let's say a toilet, alright? You've got one person peeing into this toilet, okay? It's disgusting, but one flush, it's gone, okay? Now imagine you've got 30 people peeing into that toilet. It's going to be bad. Obviously, yes, you can flush that, but in a fish tank, you cannot. It will stay in there. So 30 people peeing into a fish tank, not good. So always make sure that the ammonia is completely gone before adding anything. Ammonia is the thing that will kill your fish the most. You can battle it by doing weekly water changes, about 25%, just little ones. Don't do a full one ever because you're just resetting it. 25% water change, absolutely fine. Once a week, just keep doing that. You know, as you know, I do mine on Wednesdays. I've been doing it on Wednesday now. I did this one yesterday. I ran into some issues, but that was with my filter. I don't know if you saw my other videos. I was struggling getting the flow going through properly. Turns out my issue was the shutoff valve was sealed closed, so it wasn't allowing any water from the fish tank to pass through the filter system. It was stopping there. So this hose was filling up, but there was nothing going back into the tank. So that's why I was really struggling. So for now, I've had to jam it into open, because you know when you release on the filter, you release that valve to let the water go through, you close it, and the water stops. Mine's staying on open now, so there's just a constant flow. Even when I try and shut it off, the water's still coming down through the tank. So if I do have to do anything with my filter, I'm going to have to lift up my intake valve out the water so it's not sucking that water through. But that's the issue I had yesterday. I was working on it from 9 in the morning till about 5 o'clock at night before I had to ring somebody to help me because I didn't know what was going on. I tried everything. I've taken out the pre-filter now, that's gone. So it just goes straight from the tank to my external, back to the tank again. But then we're back to the cycle. So as I said, 4 weeks if you're doing it naturally, maybe 2 weeks if you're adding the bacteria, but you should be absolutely fine. Keeping up with the regular water changes. I mean, that's what I've done. You know, as you know, this was a fresh tank, what, 3 or 4 weeks ago. I've been doing my regular water changes. I haven't lost a single fish. My ammonia is 0. You know, my nitrates absolutely fine. As you can see, there's no algae buildup in there, so I don't have excessive nitrates or anything like that. And you know, obviously I've got the stuff that's on the plant down here, but that was there when I put it in. And my Tropheus is loving that stuff, by the way. He's absolutely demolishing the hair algae that's on this plant back here. But yeah, as I was saying, so my tank's completely cycled just by using filter media from another fish tank, squeezing it out into the water in there. It's gone, it's done its cycle. I'm not worried at all about this fish tank. I'll show you in a minute how happy and healthy the fish are. Well, you'll be able to see for yourself. So yeah, just pay attention to your fish really. If your fish aren't looking too great, do a test. If you can't afford a test kit, your local fish shop will test your water for you. Some might charge. It's normally like £1 or $1 or you know, wherever you are. It's whatever currency that is to do a test for you. But yeah, if you're worried, always test. You know, when you've been doing it as long as I have, I mean, I've been keeping fish for about 36 years now. You notice signs and things like that. You know, you recognize the signs. You know what to look for. So if you see a fish that's a little bit unhappy, you know, keep an eye on him for a couple of days. See what's developing. Is it, you know, is it white spot developing? Does he have a fungal infection? Is it internal? You know, does he look skinny? Does he look bloated? Or are his scales popping? Just keep an eye out for all these little things. You know, there's so many things that can go wrong, but as long as you keep an eye on the fish tank and, as I said, keep up with your water changes and, you know, test your water regularly, make sure that everything's okay, then you shouldn't run into any issues. You know, your water's clean, your fish are happy, have no problems. But, you know, don't take my word for it. Check out the fish. as you can see, nice happy healthy fish. That's the perks of doing your water changes and letting your tank cycle, or at least helping it along with some beneficial bacteria from other tanks that's already been cycled. Yeah, as I said, fish are really happy. Tropheus is still a freaking nutter. Just does up and down. The VC10, the Venestas, they've settled in lovely as well. All my other little fishes are doing really good. I'll be picking up a couple more on Monday or Tuesday. Only like 2 or 3, nothing major. Because I've got somebody waiting on me at the moment, and they've got 10. They're holding 10 for me, little ones like these, and then that's my limit. Then, like, once I've got these ones on Monday or Tuesday, whenever it is, once I've got these new next fish plus the 10, that is it. I cannot get any more fish in there without risking their health. So that'll be it. I know you do have to overstock a Malawi tank, which is why I'm going for more, but I'm thinking about once these guys grow up and get big, like, yeah. And it's a big tank. It's what, it doesn't look it on here, but it's 3 foot, so, and like 2 foot high, so it's plenty big enough, but not for their adult sizes, especially 20. You know, that's just a bit too many, I think. But don't worry, it'll take about a year for them to get that size, and when they do start getting that size, I can always trade them up for smaller ones. It's not a big issue. I've got plenty of friends, and I know plenty of people who breed Malawi and things like that, so I can always trade them for the smaller ones. But anyway, guys, message of this video is always cycle your tank. Like I said, whether it's natural way, I tend to steer away from the chemical way, but you can do it. I just wouldn't recommend it. And then there's also the adding filter media from another fish tank that's already been cycled, so the bacteria is already there. That's a really good way of doing it. That speeds things up a lot. As I said, there are some chemicals out there that will help you. I think it's called Prime, Seachem Prime. I think that's the one anyway. If I'm wrong, I do apologise. I don't go down the chemical route, so I'm not 100% on all their names, but I'm pretty sure it's Seachem Prime if you wanted to add new fish to a new tank system. But, well, or if you wanted to add some beneficial bacteria to a fish tank to help the cycle process go a bit faster, you can do it that way, but I would still wait. But anyway, the fish I'm picking up Monday, just to show you guys, it's called a red ruby. I posted the picture up before for you guys, but I will post it again just to show you what it looks like. I absolutely love that fish. That fish is ridiculously stunning, and I'm hoping that's what mine was going to look like when it gets older. You never know. You never know with Malawis. They all colour up differently, so you can never tell what you're going to get, as I said before. But yeah, I hope this video helped you at all. I know I rambled on a little bit about some stuff, and it probably just went over your head, but as long as you got the basics out of it, cycle your tank before you add fish, you know, check your water levels, ammonia to nitrite to nitrate, okay, as long as you pick up those things, remember that there. You know, normally it takes 4 weeks to cycle the tank naturally. These are all the basics that you need to know. If I go much more into it, again, it's just going to confuse and complicate things, and that's not what I want to do for you. I don't want you going into this thinking that it's really complicated, because it's not. It can be if you make it, but it's so simple, honestly. If you just cycle it naturally, you know, to get some test kits, so, you know, some water strip things, little strips that you dab in your tank, or you can get the proper ones with the drops, which I prefer. Or just, like I said, or just go to your fish shop, your local fish shop, and get them to test it for you. You know, if it's spiking in any way, they'll be able to help you. You know, they'll be able to suggest what to do next, which is more than likely going to be water changes. Like I said, which brings back to mine, every Wednesday, once a week, 25%. That's all you need, really. once these guys start getting bigger, I will start taking down a little bit more, possibly 50% water changes. But for the first 4 weeks, I'm just doing the 25 because I want that beneficial bacteria in that tank. I don't want to be flushing it out the into the garden, you know, down the drain. So yeah, cycle, water changes, test. Those are the 3 main things that's going to keep your fish alive. That I highly recommend you do to keep your fish alive. And don't overfeed either. That's this is another video, I think, but don't overfeed. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments. If not, I hope you like this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.
1, 2, 3, and...